Hello and welcome to today's edition of Political Voice on VOP TV. I'm Masinachi Okapo. There's always a lot happening in the political space in Nigeria, but of course we have two stories on our radar today to talk about with you. Abure re-elected as Labour Party National Chairman, plus Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit covers IPOB sales in US, UK, 20 other countries with $160,000 payments. And joining us virtually to discuss this is Mr. Chukwuma Okoro, who's a political analyst. But of course, before we get right into the stories of today, let's take a global overview of happenings around the world. In statements made by David Chitimbe, the president of Changu Chimuti Chapinda, concerns were raised regarding the Zimbabwe Electoral Commission's imposition of exorbitant nomination fees. Chitimbe expressed frustration, highlighting an instance where he assured the presiding officer that funds would be available from 4 p.m. to 7 p.m. on Tuesday, yet encountered difficulties in meeting the required fees. Chitimbe, who intended to contest in the Mabuvuki Tafara by-election in December, faced obstacles in filing his nomination papers due to financial constraints. However, he faced a scrutiny regarding his transition from Mabuvuki Tafara to Harare East, with explanations lacking in the video presentation. Some observers view Chitimbe as a potential disruptor, suggesting that his presence in the political arena may serve to divide opposition votes, potentially benefiting the ruling ZANU-PF party. Still in Zimbabwe, former opposition Zengeza West legislator Job Zikala continues to receive medical treatment at a medical center overseas, as revealed by the National Democratic Working Group. Zikala reportedly experienced a running stomach and passed bloody stew, suspected to be a result of poisoning while he was incarcerated. While detained at Chikubi Maximum Security Prison, Zikala complained of abdominal pain on his left side and voiced concerns that it might be related to colon cancer. Darlington Chingwana, the head of information and communication for NDWG, informed journalists that Zikala has been facing health challenges. Bringing it back home to Nigeria, in Edo State, the Edo State People's Democratic Party has picked the current secretary to the state government, Osaro Dion Ogere, as the running mate to its governorship candidate, Asue Ighodalo. Ogere is an appointee of Governor Godwin Obaseki, who is believed to be backing Ighodalo. A top PDP chieftain who confirmed Ogere's choice said that it was believed that the chosen appointee would give the party a chance of winning the September 21st governorship election in the state. He stated that the party consulted widely before settling for the secretary to the state government, who has been a loyal party and a grassroots mobilizer. We will now go on a short break, and when we return, we will dive straight into the topics of discussion for today. Stay tuned. Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. Moving over to Labour Party, Julius Abure has been re-elected as the national chairman of Labour Party for a second term by a unanimous affirmation of delegates. Abure's victory came amidst opposition from the Nigerian Labour Congress (NLC), the chairman of the National Convention and deputy governor of Abure State, Ikechukwu Emute, declared Abure the winner during the party's national convention that held on Wednesday in Nnewi, Anambra State. VOP-TV reports that Abure has been having a running battle with the NLC leadership led by Abure. Meanwhile, in the course of the convention, journalists were denied access. Reports gathered that the presence of extensive screening at the hotel where the convention was held suggests a connection to the party's crisis. The convention is holding days after the party asked the federal government to protect it from further aggression from the Nigeria Labour Congress. Meanwhile, 5 persons identified as hoodlums were taken into custody at the venue and transferred to the police headquarters for questioning. The hoodlums allegedly distributed inflammatory leaflets that criticized the party leadership with accusations of attempting to incite a crisis during the ongoing convention. According to a source within the party, the aim of the criminal elements and their backers was to disrupt the convention and cause instability. It is worth noting that the Labour Party has been embroiled in a crisis due to a leadership struggle over the position of national chairman. However, despite facing opposition from the Nigerian Labour Congress NLC, Julius Abure was unanimously re-elected for a second term as the national chairman of the Labour Party. I mentioned to you earlier that we have our virtual guest who is with us virtually, like I mentioned, Mr. Chukwuma Okoro, to help dissect today's matter and topic of discussion. Welcome to the show, sir.
Thank you, Ma. Thanks for having me.
So, we all know that Labour Party has been in a deep crisis from in February when Obara came up to say, that's the treasurer, came up to say that he misappropriated some funds, about 3.5 billion naira, if I'm not mistaken, from fundraising and from the funds that was sold. And then coming also, the former acting chairman also came out to say that she was forced to sign her signature on some checks. Moving down to the issue with NLC, a lot has been happening in Labour Party, and now seeing that Julius Abure has been re-elected as the Labour Party chairman. Did you see that coming? How do you react to all of this?
Well, what is happening in the Labour Party it's all about the struggle for power. You know, the crisis in the Labour Party started way back in 2023, shortly after the election, when Lamidi Apapa started laying claims to the chairmanship of the party, and at that time people believed that it was infiltration by forces that wanted to destabilize the Labour Party because of the potency it had in the political firmament in a very short while. And true to what people said, we saw how Lamidi Apapa started saying that that the Labour Party was not interested in pursuing a petition against the APC and against President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, and all of that happened. Well, thankfully enough for Labour Party, it's been able to, the courts have resolved it up to a level, at least at the appeal court level. There is a case that is outstanding at the Supreme Court, and but for now, Abure is the authentic chairman of the Labour Party, because the appeal court vacated the suspension by the lower court, by a federal high court in Abuja. All of what is happening, I think after all this, the Labour Party will come out stronger. It happened in other political parties. At a point in PDP, even in a stage of maturity, had to go through this series, even in the APC and other parties. So it's all about the struggle for power. But I think the struggle for the soul of the Labour Party is what is at issue now. If you look at what happened with this particular convention, the NLC came up like a week before the convention to say, no, Abure must resign. Abure must leave because he's not accountable. The party belongs to NLC, and we have the right to say, look, this is what happens in the party. And shortly after that, this convention that took place today was built to take place on the 29th in Benin.
Yeah.
They moved it to Abia State. And when they moved it to Abia State, recall that P2B said, please consult widely before you do this convention, because Peter was more like caught in the web. He didn't know, some stakeholders in the party had said, no, let us consult further. Let us give 3 weeks before we now hold this convention. And when they moved it to Abia State, Governor Alex Oti said the same thing. Let us consult further. Why don't you just postpone this convention further for 3 weeks? That didn't happen. They took it to Nnewi. And now when they took it to Nnewi, it is surprising that the returning officer, or the man who declared Abure the winner, is deputy governor of Abia State. So does this strike you as something sinister is trying to happen within the Labour Party? The state governor says, no, you can't hold this convention here. Why don't you consult further in the next for at least 3 weeks? And you turn out to send their deputy to go and observe the occasion and now declare somebody that the NLC has said should stand down as the winner of the election. I don't know if you get what I mean. There's a disconnect about the whole thing.
To get to that.
And you see, like, what
I can hear you.
So it's a kind of I don't know what to make out of it. But it seems that the crisis in the Labour Party is actually deeper than what we see. But in summary, I would say that there's a very strong struggle for the soul of the Labour Party, and it is not strange. It is not difficult to say that. Well, I think there are some extraneous factors for people who want to ensure that the Labour Party doesn't stand, because from what they did between 2022 and 2023, the party has always been there. You know, when it was registered as a social Democracy Party by Pascal Bafia, it was Adam Shoshomole, who is the APC now, that changed it to Labour Party. It's actually a party for the NLC. It's an NLC party. It's their own party. You know, so when the NLC comes out to say, look, this is our party, you know, and we should have a say, we should have a stake as a major stakeholder, I think they are making sense, you know. So, but it's a struggle for the soul of the Labour Party now between some forces, the NLC, the Papa faction, and the Abure faction, and P2B seems to stand aloof. P2B seems to stand aloof. As the national leader of the party, I'm thinking that he should have stood his ground to say, no, let us postpone this convention until we have consulted widely. We arrive at a consensus. For now, the Ararambi faction is not buying into this convention, and they are saying it's still an illegality until the Supreme Court decides finally on the chairmanship of Labour Party. So all of that still revolves around the struggle for the soul of the Labour Party, and it's the earlier they tidy this up, the earlier they sort this out, the better for them, because as far as I'm concerned, the 2027, the policies of 2027 has already started. And the Labour Party should realize that, look, going forward, we need to put our acts together. Otherwise, with these vociferous tendencies that are trying to tear us apart, it won't portend good for the Labour Party in 2027.
Yeah, I was going to mention that the fact that it feels like Peter Obi is on the fence as regards to the issue going on in Labour Party. And even though that you did mention that even after saying they should leave the convention for about 3 weeks, and then they still went ahead to, one would wonder if the reason for the rush, that's one. And the fact that it was gathered that journalists were denied access into that convention. Should we be worried that Labour Party might be on their way to a nosedive? Because it feels like a lot of odds are against Labour Party as a party in total. But then Peter Obi, who it feels like he is the one that, of course, the Obi movement came as a result of his move to be the president of Nigeria. Don't you think that there is more that he should say about this than just sitting on the fence, like a lot of people would say?
Yes, I think I did say that the national leader of the party, there's a difference between national chairman and national leader. The national leadership position, though it's advisory, but it carries a lot of influence, in the party. It carries a lot of influence in the structure. And the obedient movement per se is a brainchild of the Labour Party, but it has overgrown both P2B and the Labour movement and the Labour Party. You discover that a lot of people at the presidential level were rooting for P2B, even members of the APC and members of the PDP. So the obedient movement is a bigger structure. It is a bigger picture, in the Nigerian political space. And P2B being the visionary of the obedient movement, I had expected him, like I said, to be firm, in his position. I don't know the card that he's trying to play. I don't know the card that he's trying to play. Otherwise, he should have insisted, and he should have been the one doing the consultation. He should have been the one doing the consultation. They have only one state. And to think that members of the National Assembly were even shut out of the convention until a memo leaked. The memo they wrote to INEC to come and observe the convention, which is a statutory requirement. It was when the memo leaked that members of the National Assembly came to realize that, the convention was actually going to hold as planned. So the whole thing speaks about the instability of the Labour Party now. And like I said earlier, they are passing through a phase. They are passing through a phase, more like a re-incubation phase, to muster energy, to muster strength, for the battle ahead, if they want to make the kind of impact they made in 2023. This is not the time for them, for this kind of division to come out to the fore, to the extent that major stakeholders like members of the National Assembly are shut out, to the extent that the only governor within their fold is playing some kind of game. No, don't come here. But he sends his deputy to go and observe what is going on, and for P2B himself to stand in the fence, like you have said. I think I even said it too. For him not to be firm, it's and what the NLC is a very powerful. It's a very powerful force. It's a very powerful pressure group. The earlier they settled their rift with the NLC, the better for Labour Party. And P2B should understand too that leaving the Labour Party, if like there are rumors here and there about the Big Ten coalition nurtured by Pastor Tommy, which is trying to bring together both Kwakwanso and Atiku, but I don't see a shift from the Labour Party. If P2B makes any move and shift from the Labour Party, one is going to lose political capital.
Yeah, I was going to get
two,
to
it is
that.
also going to destroy the Labour Party.
I was going to get to that. The fact that you mentioned that
maybe I'm ahead of my time.
Maybe. You did mention that you don't know the card that Peter Obi is playing. I was going to even ask you if maybe if Peter Obi's silence, as a lot of people would presume, could that be the reason why maybe a lot of rumor has come out to say that he's planning to, join forces with the likes of Atiku Abubakar and other people? Do you think that maybe that's the reason why it feels like Peter Obi is on the fence, not to, be on the bad side of the obedient movement and Labour Party, but still trying to, be on the fence generally?
I think you seem to share my view. I said that quite a few minutes ago, but I don't see P2B as that kind of person. But I'm a little taken aback at his silence. If you look at if you watch his body language, his spoken language, since all this issue of the Labour Party and the Labour Congress started. It's something sinister. There is something ominous about his silence, and it's beginning to give him away, like you said, that look, this man might have an ace up his sleeve. He might have a different plan altogether. If that happens, I'm not sure that the kind of force he was able to muster in the 2023 election. It's not going to repeat it easily, because people will now begin to see him as, somebody who is unstable. People say that somebody who is unstable. He could be forgiven for having left the PDP because the PDP actually shut the door against him. So, but what reason is he going to give now if he leaves the Labour Party? What it means is that even as a person, that if he cannot handle a political party, what guarantee do we have that he can even handle the nation? If we have issues in the nation, as a father figure, as a national leader of the party, his silence doesn't speak well for him. He should stand firm. His position should be made known. Look, this convention must not hold. Look, give us time to tidy up our internal issues before we do the convention. He didn't do that, and the Abure faction that has supported him all along went ahead, conducted the convention, returned himself as the chairman, shut out journalists. I don't know why they would want to shut out journalists, but I understand that about 5 hoodlums were arrested. People who were trying to force themselves, people who were trying to get crashed, apparently to foment trouble and disrupt activities there. Well, that is a given. That's a given. I won't let you to come into my house to cause trouble if I have an occasion. So if I have a way to shut you out, I will do that. But the one I don't understand is about shutting out journalists. So is it that they have something to hide or what? Is it that they have something to hide? So the whole thing also begins to, we should begin to put up our antenna to watch the Abure faction, closely. To understand where they are going and what they are doing. But if you ask me, it was inappropriate to local journalists. And after all, we are the one now discussing the issue of the election. So why didn't they set up their own media and broadcast the results of the elections? Why did they still give it out to journalists? It's unfair. It's unfair. It shouldn't have been so. They should have accredited. Normally, the right thing to do is to accredit journalists up front. You accredit media houses. If you want, you accredit independent. They need to tell people how the convention was conducted in a free and fair manner. That didn't happen. So how do we now look at you as the chairman of a rigged convention? That is what you are telling us now.
Right. So can the unanimous re-election of Julius Abure be seen as a resounding vote of confidence from party delegates? Despite him facing a strong opposition from the influential external entities like that of the NLC, like you said, and if the NLC comes out to say that the Labour Party is their own, of course they have a share, a part of the Labour Party. So this unanimous re-election, should we say it's something, should we buy that? Because seeing all of these things happening, I don't know what the people, Nigerians who are in support of the Labour Party would think.
Yes, like I said, they are passing through a crisis phase. What you know how these things happen. You know how these things happen. Don't forget that the Abure camp is the Abure camp is a faction. It's a faction of the Labour Party, and there is a case that is in court at the Supreme Court.
Yeah.
So it's the word. It's unanimous because they have said so. And we know how these things happen. The delegates, who chooses the delegates? It's the same party leaders that choose who goes to the convention ground as a delegate. Is there any possibility that members of the Apapa camp will be part of the delegates? It doesn't happen. So it's just like people lined up. They lined up their own men, gave them party tickets as delegates, put them together in one room, did an election, returned somebody, and say it was a unanimous election. It's unanimous in their word, because the other camp is even saying that, look, what you have done is a charade, it's an illegality, we don't recognize it. Until the Supreme Court decides who is the authentic leader of the Labour Party. The crisis phase is a phase that the Labour Party should handle very, very, very carefully. Because the other camp is even saying that, look, what you have done is a charade, it's an illegality, we don't recognize it. Until the Supreme Court decides who is the authentic leader of the Labour Party. The crisis phase is a phase that the Labour Party should handle very, well. Otherwise, it will destroy its basic fabrics. It will destroy its foundations. And when that happens, the magic it wrought in 2023, it might not be able to repeat half of it. Mind you, APC is waxing stronger. PDP is regrouping. Other parties are trying to see, is it possible for us to reenact what this Labour Party did under P2B? So all these things are the issues and the factors that Labour Party should take into consideration in handling their crisis. Like I said, the crisis it's not strange. It happens all the time in political parties, and that is why PDP remains the biggest political party, the strongest, the largest, and they say in Africa. Why? Because according to them, they are the last man standing among the class of 1998. Every other party has disintegrated, coalesced with another. Some of them are dead, but PDP has been standing. There's this kind of reinvention that they do all the time. Even when they have problems, they have an internal mechanism with which they settle their crisis. It was because they disagreed in 2015. That was why they lost the election. And that same mistake they made in 2023. That is the same mistake that Labour Party is trying to make now. If you look at the APC stream seems to be a party that is more together. Since Asiwaju became the national leader, he's been able to, there's a kind of cohesion. Even when they are runaway people, Asiwaju has a way of bringing them back to the fold. That is a plus for the APC, and I expect the Labour Party to emulate them, learn from them. They need to re-strategize, go back to the drawing board, recalibrate their strategies and come up with something stronger. Otherwise, if they allow this crisis to persist, bearing in mind that there is even allegations that stronger, how can I put it now? That there are forces, subterranean forces, apparently like the government, that is trying to stabilize it because it knows that it is very potent. So it is something they should watch closely.
I'm glad you mentioned that PDP is regrouping, because we know very well that PDP seems to be having their own crisis in Edo State. Between Philip Shuaibu, and Obaseki and the likes of PDP generally seems to be having issues as well in Edo State. But before we wrap up this particular discussion, I want you to give me what you see about the general polity happening in Edo State politics before the September elections, judging from the fact that Philip Shuaibu is insisting that he is the one that should be the flag bearer of the PDP for the governorship election. But then we see that someone else has taken that baton, and Labour Party as well has Lamid Apata, who's of course coming out for the governorship. Yes. So, in a very short words, what do you think that would play out generally?
I think Philip Shuaibu's insistence on being the governor candidate of the PDP in Edo State is a no-brainer. Is a no-brainer. He's just trying to inflict wounds. He's just trying to cause injuries to the PDP in Edo State, and I'm sure the governor will not allow that to happen. He conducted a parallel convention, and I think there's an ongoing investigation. There's a process to impeach him. Yes. He's struggling for his position he's struggling for his political position before the elections in September. Yeah. It's a no-brainer to me. Shuaibu is a spent force. He is from the party. The odds are against him. His principal doesn't want him. The party has zoned the ticket to the central, which has been shut out of the governorship space for a very long time.
Yeah.
Just 8 months in 24 years. So it's I think he's just trying to inflict minor injuries on the PDP. The Edo race will be a very close one between the APC, the Labour Party, and the PDP.
Yeah.
But you know that Edo election is very volatile. It has a way of springing surprises. Don't forget that the present governor Obaseki left the APC, and the man that put him there couldn't stop him.
Yeah.
The man that put him there, Adams Oshomole, couldn't stop him. That is to tell you that Edo people,
they have their own
they have a refined political culture. Yes, they have a refined political culture of going for what they want. If the clearly is satisfied with what Obaseki has done, it is more likely that they are going to return the PDP.
Okay.
But if not, the Labour Party will have it, because I recall that the Labour Party was very strong in the 2023 presidential election.
Yeah.
Yes, they did very well in Edo State, and if they have that power, that capacity, I'm sure if they are not satisfied with Obaseki, they might swing to the Labour Party and return Olumide Akpata. And Olumide happens to be a scion of the Akpata family. He's a successful lawyer. He is brilliant. He's personable. He's likable. And a lot of people are gravitating towards him.
Yeah.
So he might give the PDP a run for their money if you discount the power of incumbency that Obaseki wields now.
All right.
So it's going to be a very close call. A very close call between the PDP and the Labour Party.
All right, we'll see what happens come September this year. Moving on to the next topic of discussion, we're going to take a short break, and when we return, we'll dive straight into the next topic of discussion. Stay tuned.
Thank you.
Welcome back and thanks for staying tuned. The Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit, NFIU, has said that it has uncovered no fewer than 27 cells belonging to the indigenous people of Biafra, IPOB, in the United States of America, the United Kingdom, and 20 other countries across the globe. The NFIU, which made the revelation in a document titled Counter-Terrorism Financing Newsletter and dated February 26, 2024, said that the US and the UK houses the largest number of IPOB cells per country, with the 7 and 6 operating IPOB cells respectively in both countries. The NFIU also said that it observed that over $160,000 was disbursed to transmission, media and broadcasting companies in Bulgaria, South Africa and the United Kingdom, linking the running of IPOB to 54 individuals across the globe. The NFIU also revealed that a betting platform simply identified as XC filed a suspicious transaction report on a 24-year Nigerian customer from North Central Nigeria. I still have with us virtually Mr. Chukwuma Okoro to make sense of this. I'm going to start with the fact that the Nigerian Financial Intelligence Unit confirmed the diaspora presence of IPOB in 22 countries globally. And then analysis found 27 entities registered in the group's name worldwide, with the US and the UK having the most registrations at 7 and 6 entities respectively. How do you react to this?
Wow, this is the NFIU is trying to, they are doing their job, but I think they are lacking in depth. They are lacking in depth and parochial in their assessment.
How so?
In the first place, let's begin with the yes. In the first place, let's begin with the definition of terror cell. What is a terror cell? A terror cell is a secret organization, an undercover organization, an undercover structure. Where terrorism is planned outside, most times outside the shores of the target country. Is IPOB a terror organization? A court said, please don't call IPOB a terror organization. So if they say that IPOB has terror cells, NFIU is lacking in depth in the assessment. It's a wrong profiling in the first place. And if you talk about terror cells, what is terror cells is an activity. These are people. IPOB are people. This is an organization that in the US, in the UK, in Canada, in Germany, all over Europe, all over West Africa, they don't hide their operations. They don't hide their activities. And they go in front of the Nigerian embassy in New York to do demonstration. They go to United Nations office in New York to do demonstration. They go to the Nigerian embassy in Bonn in Germany, in Berlin, in Belgrade to do demonstration, waving their flags. Is that what a terror organization does? How many times have you seen Hamas go to the United Nations building in New York? How many times have you seen Hezbollah in Australia going with their flags to say, please give us the state, Palestinian state? But when you go to Lanaka, you see the security agencies busting houses, busting flats to say, see, terrorism is planned in this flat. And after a while, you see bombs go off in Lebanon. You see bombs go off in Israel. You see bombs go off in Kenya. That is what terrorism cell is all about. Terrorism cell is not about a group of people that are waving flags, asking for a separate sovereignty. So the NFIU is lacking in depth. They should go back and define what a terror cell is all about. The IPOB, they don't hide themselves. They are everywhere. They demonstrate in parts of the southeast. They demonstrate in Ghana. They demonstrate in all parts of the world. So why would you say that they operate cells? What do you mean by a cell? And what is $160,000 if you are talking about financing terrorism? How much is $160,000? I expect NFIU to go and dig deeper if they have evidence about IPOB being a terror organization and they want to talk about people who are financing terrorism. And about financing terrorism, then they shouldn't talk about $160,000.
But then we also know that they already called on law enforcement agencies to investigate the transactions by individuals linked to known terrorists or financiers, unauthorized tax collection or forced donations in terrorism-prone areas, and that of the Bureau, the shares operators that's facilitating the transfers within these suspected areas. So do you see a light at the end of the tunnel? Do you think that it's going to be business as usual, just pushing it aside and not having an in-depth of all of these things, or do you think that it's going to really help to show the depth that are willing to go to find out more about the situation at hand?
I'm happy that the NFIU listed some organizations that are financing terrorism. You recall that sometime in 2020, 2021 or thereabout, on top of my head I can't remember, but you recall that UAE wanted to name, actually sent a list of people sponsoring terrorism in Nigeria, but the government of Muhammadu Buhari didn't release that list until it left.
Yeah.
So I think it's a good thing that it It didn't, yes. But I'm happy that the current president has the political will, has the courage to release that list, and very prominent Nigerians have been fingered, as sponsors of terrorism. And I expect the law enforcement agents to go beyond, the law enforcement agencies to go beyond releasing the list. These people should be investigated. They should be interrogated, and if found guilty, prosecuted, whether they belong to Boko Haram, whether they belong to ISWAP, whether they belong to IPUB, whether they belong to any of these splintered organizations that is causing havoc in Nigeria, But like I said, what the federal government needs to do is to unpack the whole issue surrounding the terrorism and insecurity in Nigeria. Presently, is put inside a bag, and all of them are just tagged insecurity. What is the cause of insecurity? What Boko Haram is looking for is different from what IPO is looking for. It's different from what the bandits and cattle rustlers and kidnappers are looking for. So it would be nice to unpack these things and look at, Boko Haram has come out severally to say, oh, the bomb that went off in Abuja, we claim responsibility. ISWAP has several times said, oh, the kidnapping that took place in Borno State, or the burning of vehicles, military vehicles in Borno State, yes, we claim responsibility. How many times has IPOB claimed responsibility for bombing Abuja, for bombing any place in the southeast? IPOB comes out to claim responsibility. Yes, we stopped the market from opening on a Monday in the southeast because we said market should not open. Does that amount to terrorism? I don't think so. I don't speak for IPOB, but I want to call a spade what it is. If the government is sincere in fighting insecurity, it should unbundle what insecurity is in Nigeria and look at it separately, and not just do a blanket profiling and say, oh, insecurity, these are the people sponsoring terrorism. We know what terrorism is all about. We know what insurgency is all about. So that is what the government should do. I'm happy that the list is out. If NFIU feels very strongly that IPOB is sponsoring terrorism, fine and good. Let them name the people that are involved, the way they name people that are the BDCs and all other people. It is not enough to say that somebody in North Central withdrew 350,000 naira. To do what? How many AK-47s can you buy with 350,000 naira? That's why I said it was lacking in depth. They should dig further. They should tell us more about what they know.
All right. Before we wrap up this, yes, I can hear you. Before we wrap up this segment, we don't have much time anymore. But I'd love you to give us your concluding thoughts on the first topic of discussion and then the second topic of discussion before we wrap up the show.
Okay, I think the Labour Party should go back home and put its acts together. It's very possible that they have infiltrators in their midst who are trying to rock their boat. Specifically, I call on the national leader of the party, Mr. Peter Obi, in concert with the only governor they have, Dr. Alex Oti, and members of the National Assembly who were elected under the platform of the Labour Party to do all they can to make sure that they tidy the current crisis they are passing through, if they are serious about making any meaningful impact in 2027. Like I said the other time, the race for 2027 has already started. The earlier they realize that, the better for them. And for NFIU, I expect them to dig deeper, and tell us more. But having done that, the security agencies should. That's the point of departure, for the security agencies, whether it is the NIA, whether it is the DSS, whether it is the police, whether it is the EFCC or whoever that is involved, whether they have to do interagency cooperation. They need to do very fast, because the kind of insecurity we have it's making everything very, very uncertain, and it doesn't speak good about our country. And the president too, I appreciate it. I thank him for his courage, to release the list that fingered some powerful individuals who have connections with other powerful individuals. So he should try and get to the root of the matter. But above all, they should unpack, they should unbundle what is insecurity in Nigeria, deal with it separately, get to the root cause. Otherwise, we'll just be running a circle show.
All right. Thank you so much for being on the show today, Mr. Chukwuma Okoro. We appreciate you, and we hope that you make a return on the show some other time. Thank you so much.
Thanks for having me, Ma.
And that's all we can take on today's episode of Political Voice on VOP TV. Join us for more of this on YouTube. We are at Voice of the People TV, and then on other social media handles we are at VOP TV Live. I'm Master Nachi Okafor. Stay tuned for more program.